Hello everyone, my name's Kate and I'm here at the East Side Freedom Library in St. Paul, Minnesota, and I'm so happy that you're here with me today. And before I get started with the stories that I have for you, I wanted to answer a question that my neighbor Willa asked me the other day. She asked me, why is it called the East Side Freedom Library? And next week I'll talk to you about why it's called East Side, but this week I wanted to talk to you about why it's called a Freedom Library. And that's because this library is full of stories of people who stood up for freedom. And one of my favorite stories about people who have stood up for freedom is this book about Miss Fannie Lou Hamer. Miss Fannie Lou Hamer was born the granddaughter of enslaved Africans, and she spent her whole life standing up for the freedom of Black people to be treated the same as everyone else. And what her story teaches us is that standing up for freedom is hard, it can take a long time, but her story also teaches us that it can be successful, that standing up for freedom can work, and it can be beautiful, and it can be fun. And Miss Fannie Lou Hamer was known for being a beautiful singer. She was called the voice of the freedom movement. So it can be joyful. And if you're like me and you live in the Twin Cities, you might have noticed that Miss Fannie Lou Hamer's struggle is still ongoing. You might have heard that a man named Mr. George Floyd was killed by a police officer. And you might have noticed that all around us, there are people who are standing up for the freedom of Black people to be treated fairly, just like Miss Fannie Lou Hamer was. And they're especially standing up for Black people to be treated fairly by police. So you might have seen signs like this one at a protest, or you might have seen them in someone's front yard that say Black Lives Matter. And that sign means we are standing up for the freedom of Black people to be treated fairly like everybody else, and especially to be treated fairly by police. So I have a story that I want to read to you that is about when these kinds of things happen. And one of the things the story is going to talk to us about is the fact that this is a pattern. So the story is called Something Happened in Our Town. Something bad happened in our town. The news was on the TV, the radio, and the internet. The grown-ups didn't think the kids knew about it. But the kids in Miss Garcia's class heard some older kids talking about it, and they had questions. After school, Emma asked her mother, "Why did the police shoot that man?" "It was a mistake," her mother said. "I feel sad for that man and his family." "Yes, the police thought he had a gun," said her father. "It wasn't a mistake," said her sister Liz. "The cops shot him because he was Black." Emma was confused. "He's brown, not Black," she said. "Some Black people have dark brown skin and some have light brown skin," Emma's father explained. Black usually means African American. Most of their ancestors were brought here from Africa as slaves. Now, some people use the word slaves. I use the word enslaved Africans, but in the book they use the word slaves. "I know what a slave is," said Emma. "It's when you have to do whatever the other person says." Yes, slaves had to do whatever white people told them to do. Even after slavery ended, white people didn't let Black people live where they wanted, go to school with white people, or vote. Who are white people? White people came here from places in Europe or Russia or other countries. We are white, even though our skin is light tan. "Did our family do those bad things a long time ago?" asked Emma. "Yes," answered her mother. "Back then, many white people thought that they were better than Black people, even though it wasn't true." Liz added, "Some white people still think that most Black men and boys are dangerous, even though they're not." "Was the man who got shot dangerous?" asked Emma. "No," her mother said. "Shooting him was a mistake. It was a mistake that is part of a pattern." "Like the pattern on my blanket?" Emma asked. "Yes, this pattern is being nice to white people and mean to Black people. It's an unfair pattern." "Suppose you had a birthday party and invited everyone in your class except the Black kids," her mother said. "How would the Black kids feel?" "They'd be sad," Emma said, "or mad. And you would be missing out because you never know who is going to be your best friend," said Liz. "And you can help others to be fair," said her mother. "Like telling Anna to stop teasing Ling about her name?" asked Emma. Her mother gave her a hug. Yeah, just like that. In another house, Josh asked his mother, "Can police go to jail?" "Yes," said his mother. "Why do you ask?" "That white policeman who shot the black man," said Josh. "Will he go to jail?" "What he did was wrong," said his mother. "But he won't go to jail," said his father. "Why not?" asked Josh. "Cops stick up for each other," said Josh's brother Malcolm, "and they don't like black men." Josh was confused. "Why not? Some police are black." "You're right," said his mother. "Uncle James is a police officer, and so is my friend Kenya. There are many cops, black and white, who make good choices," said his father, "but we can't always count on them to do what's right." Malcolm added, "I could get stopped by the police just because I'm black, even though I didn't do anything wrong." "Well, that's not fair," Josh said. "What if it was a white man in the car? Would the police have shot him?" "They probably wouldn't have even stopped the car," said his father. "Sometimes white people are treated better than black people," said his mother, "but it's not right. Everyone should be treated fairly." Josh's mother gave him a hug. "We're proud of who we are. Harriet Tubman, Martin Luther King Jr., and Nelson Mandela were strong and brave black leaders. They showed us that we can stand up for our rights and set good examples for other people. They were treated unfairly, but helped others learn to be more fair." "Some people haven't learned yet," said his father angrily. "Why are you mad?" asked Josh. "I'm mad that we're still treated poorly sometimes, but I can use my anger to make things better," said his father. "Black people have a lot of power if we work together to make changes." "I have power," Josh said, "and I'm smart." His father smiled. "You're right." His mother added, "You can change people's hearts by sticking up for someone who's not treated fairly." "Like how Malcolm sticks up for me when kids tease me about my glasses?" Josh asked. "He tells them to step off." "Just like that," his parents said. The next day, a new kid joined Emma and Josh's class. His name was Ahmad, and he was from a country far away. Ahmad didn't know where to sit or what to do because it was his first day in school. He talked a bit, but it was hard to understand him. He said he was learning English. After lunch, the class went outside to play soccer. Daniel and Sophia picked kids to be on their teams. All of the kids were picked to be on a team except Ahmad. Daniel said Ahmad probably didn't know how to play because he was new, and Sophia said Ahmad might not be good at soccer. Josh remembered what his mother had said about sticking up for people who were being treated unfairly, and Emma remembered what her mother had said about unfair patterns and birthday parties. All of a sudden, Ahmad wasn't alone. Emma and Josh were leading him to their team. "We have enough kids on our team," Daniel said. "We don't need him." But Josh was ready. "Step off," he said. "He's playing." "Yeah," said Emma. "We don't want to miss out." And just like that, Emma and Josh gained a new friend and started a better pattern at their school. So in this story, Emma and Josh stand up for what's right. But in this story, it's got a happy ending and it ends really fast. But what we're seeing around us is that sometimes standing up for freedom and standing up for what's right is harder than just reaching your hand out to your friend. Sometimes it's loud, sometimes it smells, and sometimes it's really hard. And if you've seen what's going on around us, sometimes it's scary. But what I want you to know is that all of the people who are standing up for what's right, standing up for the freedom of Black people to be treated like other people, are motivated by hope. And I am so grateful that they share my hope that things could be different. So it might take us a little while, and it might be a little scary, and it might be a little hard, but I am so glad we are all standing up for freedom together. So there is another kind of freedom that these stories are about here at the Eastside Freedom Library, and that's freedom to be yourself. And I love stories about kids who have the freedom to be themselves, and I want to share a couple with you today. And they're over here in this area where all the kids section at the Freedom Library is. So, let's see. I have two stories about the freedom to be yourself that I want to share with you. And the first one is called Julian is a Mermaid. And the pictures in this book are really, really wonderful. So not every page has words on it, so I'm going to try to go slow so that you can take a look at the beautiful pictures in this book. And it's called Julián is a Mermaid by Jessica Love. This is a boy named Julián. This is his Nana. And those are some mermaids. Julián loves mermaids. And there are no words on this page, but just pictures of Julián imagining himself as a mermaid. Here, Julián's turning himself in his imagination into a mermaid and saying hello to a fish. And I think that fish is giving him a necklace. Let's go, honey. This is our stop. And I think in his imagination, these mermaids are waving goodbye to him. Nana, did you see the mermaids? I saw them, honey. Nana, I am also a mermaid. I'm going to take a bath. You be good. Julián has an idea. Look, he's using all the stuff around his house to turn himself into a mermaid. And he makes himself into this beautiful mermaid. His Nana comes out. Oh! And he's wondering, what does she think about me being a mermaid? Come here, honey, she says. For me, Nana? For you, Julián? Where are we going? You'll see, said Nana. Mermaids, whispers Julián. Oops. Like you, honey, let's join them. Look at all those beautiful mermaids. And they do. And there's Julián swimming with his Nana and her friends, like a mermaid. And I love that story because Nana sees that Julián wants to be a mermaid. She sees that's who he wants to be. He wants the freedom to be himself, and she helps him. And I love that story for that reason. And I have another story that my youngest child really likes. My youngest son is named Will, and he loves this story called Sparkle Boy. And it's also about a kid who wants to be themselves. Jessie adored all things shimmery, glittery, and sparkly. Look at my shimmery skirt, Jessie said to her little brother Casey as she twirled into the living room and her skirt twirled out all around her. Casey looked up from his alphabet blocks. Ooh, shimmery, shimmery, he said, reaching out his hand. I want shimmery. Jessie stopped twirling her skirt Jessie stopped twirling and her skirt stopped twirling too. You can't have a shimmery skirt, Casey, she said. Why, Casey asked. Because boys don't wear shimmery skirts, Jessie said. Jessie, right, Mama? Mama thought for a minute. If Casey wants to wear a skirt, Casey can wear a skirt, she said. I don't have a problem with that. Mama went upstairs and came back with a skirt that was too small for Jessie. Here, buddy, she said to Casey, try this on. Ooh, shimmery, shimmery, Casey said as he twirled around and his shimmery skirt twirled out all around him. Casey twirled and twirled until he got dizzy and plopped down on his bottom. Casey laughed. Jessie frowned. The next afternoon, Jessie went to a birthday party and she came home and raced into the kitchen. Look at my glittery nails, Jessie said, fanning out her fingers. Her nails glittered in the light. Casey looked up from his animal puzzle. Ooh, glittery, glittery, he said, putting Jessie's hands towards him. I want glittery. Jessie snatched her hand away. You can't have glittery nails, Casey, she said. Why, Casey asked. Because boys don't wear glittery nail polish, said Jessie. Right, Daddy? Daddy thought for a minute. Most boys don't wear nail polish, he said, but if Casey wants to, he can. There's no harm in that. Daddy went upstairs and came back with a bottle of glittery nail polish. Can you just paint his toenails, Jessie asked, and then make him put on socks? That's not a bad idea, Daddy said to Casey. What do you say, pal? No, Casey shouted, and he held out his hands and he kept them perfectly still while Daddy painted his fingernails. Ooh, glittery, Casey said as he spread out his fingers so wide that his nails glittered in the light. Jessie shook her head. The next morning, Jessie and Casey's grandmother came to visit. Abuelita, I like your sparkly bracelet, said Jessie. You can have one. I have plenty, Abuelita said. She took off a bracelet and slid it onto Jessie's wrist. Jessie swiveled her arm back and forth and watched the bracelet sparkle. Casey looked up from his dump truck. Ooh, sparkly, Casey said. I want sparkly. Jessie hid her arm behind her back. You can't have a sparkly bracelet, Casey, she said. Why? Casey asked. Because boys don't wear sparkly bracelets, said Jessie. Right, Abuelita? Abuelita thought for a minute. I've never seen a boy wear a sparkly bracelet, she said, but until now. Abuelita turned to Casey. Here, sparkle boy, she said, and she took off another bracelet and slid it onto Casey's arm. There's no reason why Casey can't wear a bracelet, Jessie. He's not hurting anyone. Ooh, sparkly, Casey said as he swiveled his arm back and forth and watched his bracelet sparkle. Jessie stomped her foot and ran inside. On Saturday, Daddy went grocery shopping and Mama took Jessie and Casey to the library. Jessie came downstairs wearing her shimmery skirt and sparkly bracelet. Her nails glittered in the light. And soon Mama came downstairs with Casey. He wore his shimmery skirt and his sparkly bracelet. His nails glittered in the light too. Mama, Jessie cried as she thrust her fist into her hips. Why is Casey dressed like that? Because that's how Casey wants to dress, Mama said. But that is not how boys are supposed to dress, said Jessie. Casey looks silly. I don't think Casey looks silly, Mama said. I think Casey looks like Casey. When Jessie, Casey, and Mama got to the library, story time had already started. They sat in the back to listen. After the librarian finished reading, Mama went to the front desk to check out some books. Jessie and Casey waited for her in the children's room. I like your skirt, a girl said to Jessie, and I like your sister's skirt. Jessie didn't say anything. I'm not a sister, said Casey. I'm a brother. You can't be a brother, said the girl. Why? Asked Casey. Because you're a girl, she answered. I'm a boy, said Casey. You are? An older boy said. He stared at Casey and then laughed. Hey, look, he called to his friend, a boy in a skirt. The boy's friend laughed too. Then he knelt in front of Casey. Dude, he said, you can't go around wearing a skirt. Why? Casey asked. Because you look weird and everyone will laugh at you, said the boy. Why? Casey asked again. Because boys don't wear skirts and bracelets and nail polish, and everybody knows that, said the boy. Right? He said, turning to Jessie. Jessie looked at Casey. His face was scrunching up like it always did right before he started to cry. Why can't boys wear skirts and bracelets and nail polish? Jessie asked the boys. Because, said one of the boys, that's just the way it is, said the other. Not anymore, said Jessie as she put her arm around Casey's shoulder. Come on, little guy, she said. Let's find Mama and go home. Jessie and Casey adored all things shimmery, glittery, and sparkly, especially each other. So at the end of that book, Jessie stands up for the freedom of Casey to be himself. And Casey stands up the whole book for the freedom to be himself. So there's all different kinds of freedoms that we want to stand up for. And this library is full of stories about that. And I have one more story for you today that's silly. But it's about a librarian named McKerrigan who saves the day. So it's about how libraries can be really special places full of really special and important ideas that can help us figure out how to stand up for things. It's called McKerrigan, Secret Librarian, and I'm going to read it in a little bit of a silly voice because when I read it to Will, he likes it when I do it that way. Dr. Glockenspiel has escaped from his cell. And now, from a secret lair in an Arctic iceberg, he makes his demand. I want $1 billion trillion, or my army of giant moths will eat the world's books. The world sends its best secret agents. Dr. Glockenspiel sends his best henchmen to capture them. What will the world do? Where can we turn for help? Who loves books so much that she would risk her life to save them? Lyric McKerrigan, secret librarian. Every corridor in the iceberg is watched by security cameras. 10,000 cameras and nothing ever happens. I'm so bored. Hey, I know how you could pass the time. But who was that janitor? Who knew just the right book to mop away the boredom? Lyric McKerrigan, secret librarian. Where is Lyric McKerrigan, secret librarian? Bring her to me or I'll string you up by the ears. I hate it when I get strung up by my ears. I got strung up by my toes yesterday. Bosses can do anything they want. You know, I have a book you might find interesting. And I'm going to read you the names of the books. If you give a mouse a contract, your boss can't do that. Little Boss on the Prairie. But who was that plumber who had just the right tools in her toolbox? Lyric McKerrigan, secret librarian. I wish there was some way we could escape this cell, but how can we? We don't have the key. Look, the jailer's here with our daily gruel. Oh, she finds a book in the daily gruel and it's called How to Pick Locks. But who was that jailer who served up just the right book at just the right time? Lyric McKerrigan, secret librarian. The secret agents surround Dr. Glockenspiel. Throw your death ray on the ground and put your hands up. Attack them or I'll string you up by your nose hairs. No, you're not allowed to string us up by anything. Plus, you're supposed to pay us. We are going on strike. They got those ideas from books. Then I shall have my revenge. I shall destroy every book in the world. Fly, my pretties, fly. Scree, scree, scree. But then someone shines a light onto a book. The moths love flashlights. Story time, says a voice from the shadows. The moths like stories even better than flashlights. Once upon a time, there was a hungry moth. He ate a book. It tasted okay. Then he tried some nice wool clothes, and they tasted fantastic. Yes, sir, said the moth, nothing like thick, heavy wool clothes to satisfy my hungry tummy. Dr. Glockenspiel looked at the moths. The moths looked at Dr. Glockenspiel. He doesn't get far. And now that his plans, like his clothes, are in tatters, who files him away in the depository for the criminally naughty? Who saved the world today and who will save it again tomorrow? Lyric McKerrigan, secret librarian. So that's just a silly one to end on today. I'm so glad that you were all here with me today, and I can't wait to see you next week when we'll talk about why it's called the East Side Freedom Library.
Thank you for visiting our video. I'm Beth Cleary.
I'm Peter Ratcliffe, and this is Orso, the library dog.
We are the co-founders and co-executive directors of the East Side Freedom Library in St. Paul, Minnesota.
Our mission is to inspire solidarity, work for justice, and advocate for equity for all. If you enjoy our programming and want to support our work, please visit our website, eastsidefreedomlibrary.org.